My mother died a year ago. I thought the hardest part was learning how to live with the grief, but I was wrong. The hardest part was reading the letter she left for me. The one that explained her secrets were probably going to get me killed. For my entire 17 years of life, everything I knew was a lie. And now, the people who built that lie want to bury me right along with it. Grief is a strange thing, isn't it? It's not a steady ache. It comes in waves. For months, I felt like I was drowning, but then, slowly, you start to catch your breath. You find these little pockets of quiet. And it was in one of those quiet moments, on a rainy Tuesday, that I finally worked up the nerve to go through my mom's things. Her house, my childhood home, had turned into a museum full of memories I was too scared to even look at. Mom was a meticulous person. Every bill filed, every photo album perfectly labeled. My dad died when I was little, so it was always just us against the world. She was my everything, and I thought I was hers. I really thought I knew her. But in the back of her closet, hidden in a shoebox of old birthday cards, I found it. A thick, cream-colored envelope with my name, Chloe, written in her familiar, elegant script. Underneath my name was another line. To be opened only after I am gone. My blood ran cold. It felt like her ghost was in the room with me. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely break the wax seal. The letter inside was several pages long, every line in that same perfect handwriting, but the words themselves felt frantic, desperate. My dearest Chloe, it started. If you are reading this, it means my time has run out. It means I've failed. I failed to protect you, and I failed to see justice done for your father. There are things you don't know about him, about me, about the life we had before you were born. I have spent your entire life in fear, Chloe, and I am so sorry that I may have just passed that fear on to you. The letter went on, describing things that sounded like they were from a movie, not my life. It said my father wasn't the quiet accountant I'd always been told he was, but a brilliant research scientist. It mentioned a pharmaceutical company, Omnigen, and something called Project Helios. It was all so vague and terrifying, full of warnings about people she called the benefactors, who would do anything to protect their secrets. She wrote that my father's heart attack wasn't a heart attack at all. He was silenced. And she was terrified they were coming for her next. At the bottom of the last page, there was one final, chilling instruction. Trust no one, Chloe. Not our friends, not the neighbors. They watch. They always have. If you think you're in danger, go to the Blackwood Savings and Loan in the Old District. Box 713. The key is where it's always been, with your first treasure. It ended with, be brave. I love you more than life itself. A cold dread just washed over me. This had to be a mistake, right? Mom had been sick for a long time. Maybe this was just a delusion? Paranoia from the illness? God, I wanted to believe that. It was so much easier than believing my whole life was a lie. I folded the letter, my mind just spinning, and tried to tell myself it was just the sad, strange fantasy of a brilliant woman at the end of her life. I couldn't get the letter out of my head for the next few days. I kept trying to brush it off, but Mom's words, they watch, were stuck on a loop in my brain. I started seeing things. Or maybe I just started noticing them. A plain black sedan was parked across the street from my house. It never moved. Day or night, it was just there. At first, I was sure I was just being paranoid, that grief was making me see monsters in the shadows. Then came the break-in. I got home late from my shift and saw the front door was cracked open. I always double-lock it. Always. My stomach dropped. I nudged the door open with my foot, calling out, "Hello?" Silence. My heart was pounding in my ears as I walked through the house. The living room and kitchen were fine, untouched. But when I got to my mom's home office, my breath caught in my throat. The room had been torn apart. Files were ripped from cabinets, papers scattered everywhere. Her desk drawers were hanging open. They'd been looking for something. But the weirdest part? Nothing valuable was gone. The TV was there. The antique clock on the mantel was there. These weren't burglars. They were looking for something specific. And then it hit me like a ton of bricks. The letter. I sprinted to my room, to the little wooden chest where I'd hidden it. My hands trembled as I lifted the lid. It was gone. They took it. But they'd made one arrogant mistake. I had taken photos of every single page on my phone the day I found it. They might have the paper, but I still had the words. In that second, any denial I had left completely shattered. This was real. The black car, the break-in, all of it. My mother wasn't delusional. She was terrified. And now so was I. Her last instruction screamed in my mind. Box 713. The key is with your first treasure. My first treasure. It took my panic-scrambled brain a second to place it. A small, silver locket she gave me for my 5th birthday. The first real jewelry I ever owned. I kept it in a memory box under my bed. I scrambled to find it, and fumbled with a tiny clasp. It clicked open. Inside, instead of a tiny photo, was a small, strangely shaped silver key. I knew I couldn't stay. I couldn't just be a sitting duck, waiting for them to come back. My mother had left me a path. It was time to stop running from her secrets, and start hunting for the truth. The next morning, I threw some clothes in a bag, grabbed all the cash I had, and walked out of my childhood home, feeling like it might be for the last time. As I drove off, I glanced in my rearview mirror, and there it was, the black sedan, pulling out to follow me. The chase was on. My hands were slick on the steering wheel as I spent the next hour driving like a maniac, making sudden turns, weaving through traffic, using every trick I could think of. And then, finally, I lost them. My rearview mirror was blessedly, beautifully empty. Only then did I drive toward the old district. The Blackwood Savings and Loan was this old, imposing building made of stone and marble, like something out of another century. With the little key clutched in my sweaty hand, an attendant led me down to the vault. He brought box 713 into a small private room and left me alone. There were no jewels inside. No stacks of cash. Just an old, beat-up burner phone and a single USB drive. I plugged the drive into my laptop and found a single, password-protected folder. I tried everything I could think of. My birthday, my mom's, my dad's. Nothing worked. Frustrated, I grabbed the phone and powered it on. There was only one contact saved. Alistair Finch. My hand was shaking as I hit the call button. After 3 rings, a man answered, his voice sharp and suspicious. Who is this? My name is Chloe, I said, my voice barely a whisper. My mother, she told me to call you. I didn't know what else to say. There was a long pause. Then, what was your mother's name? Eleanor, I said. The man, Alistair, let out a shaky breath that I could hear even over the phone. She said you'd call if the worst happened. Listen to me very carefully. The second you turned on this phone, they knew. We don't have much time. He told me to meet him in 1 hour at a crowded public library downtown. He said he'd explain everything. I found him in the history section. He was a frail, nervous man with glasses, who couldn't stop looking over his shoulder. He told me he'd been my father's junior lab partner. And he confirmed everything. My father, David, was a genius. Project Helios was supposed to be his masterpiece, a revolutionary drug that could repair nerve damage. But Omnigen, the corporation funding it all, cut corners. They faked trial data and pushed the drug into human testing before it was safe. It had a horrific, unforeseen side effect. It didn't just repair nerves. It aggressively rewrote a person's genetic code, causing rapid, fatal cancers. My father found out about the cover-up and was horrified. He gathered all the real data, all the proof, and planned to go to the press. But Omnigen discovered his plan. His heart attack was no accident. Alistair said my mom spent the next 17 years quietly collecting every piece of evidence she could, living in constant fear they'd find out. Just as he was about to tell me the last piece of the puzzle, his eyes went wide with terror. He was looking right past me, toward the library entrance. 2 men in dark suits were walking in. The same men from my house. "They found us," Alistair whispered, shoving a folded napkin into my hand. "The password's on here. Get the data to the press. Finish what your father started. Now go!" He suddenly stood up and shoved a massive bookshelf. It crashed down with a deafening boom. As people screamed and chaos erupted, I didn't think twice. I ran. I bolted out a side exit and didn't look back. I spent the night huddled in a cheap motel, my heart pounding a painful rhythm against my ribs. On the napkin, Alistair had written a single word. Phoenix. It wasn't just a random word. It was the name of my father's sailboat, the one my mom used to tell me stories about. It was the password. I opened the files, and it was all there. The real, damning data from Project Helios. Internal memos. Secret recordings of Omnigen executives agreeing to bury the evidence and handle my father. My mother had built a perfect, airtight case. Using the burner phone, I contacted an investigative journalist whose number was also in the box. I told her everything. I sent her the files. And then I waited. For the next 6 hours, I sat in that motel room and watched as my mother's secret, 17-year war finally went public. The story broke on a major news network. The FBI, armed with the files I sent, raided Omnigen's headquarters. The CEO, the board members, the benefactors my mom wrote about, were all arrested. Their entire empire of lies, built on the bodies of innocent people, came crashing down around them. It's over now. The black cars are gone. The shadows are just shadows again. I'm not just a grieving daughter anymore. I'm the daughter of a hero, and of a woman who fought for 17 years to make sure his sacrifice meant something. My mother's secrets almost got me killed, it's true. But in the end, they set me free. They revealed a legacy of courage I never knew I was a part of. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to live up to it. Finding out your whole life is a lie is a lot. But my mom taught me that some truths are worth fighting for, no matter the cost. Has a family secret ever completely changed your world? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more stories like this, you know what to do.